Stay here, okay?
For the first time, I felt like I saw a terrifying look on my beloved Tommy's face. When I flinched and let go of his hand, the door above me slammed shut. A dreadful sound echoed. The door was locked. I was trapped in a dark basement, wanting to scream but unable to, because I was holding a baby in my arms. A baby I had given birth to just yesterday, my beloved little one, Madison. Why all of a sudden like this? Tears began to flow. Trapped in a dark basement in my postpartum state, Madison, whom I had just fed, slept peacefully, unaware of anything. That was the only solace. Then, after about 3 hours, I had just finished feeding Madison again under the light of the only lamp when a dark shadow appeared in its glow. Who's there? I turned in fear. A dark shadow emerged from the depths of the basement. It was the bluebird of happiness that pulled me up from the depths of despair. My name is Emily Smith, 27 years old. I work as a veterinary nurse at a small animal hospital in town. Having just recently gotten married, I was living a happy life. My husband, Tommy Smith. He is 2 years older than me, a serious and gentle person. Sometimes he might be too kind, always considerate of others. I even admire him for that. It felt like a dream that I could date him, be proposed to, and get married. But my heart always harbored some dark feelings. The reason lay in my unfortunate childhood. My parents, Alex and Mary, were small-town doctors who raised my brother John and me to become doctors too. They were always adamant about the doctor profession and wouldn't allow any other path. In elementary school, when I drew a picture of a groomer as my future dream, it was immediately torn up upon bringing it home.
I can't believe you draw something other than a doctor, a groomer. Don't be ridiculous.
My mother mocked my dream and threw it away like trash. Tears streamed down my face as my father laughed mockingly behind me.
Girls really are hopeless. Emily can't be a doctor. Well, at least we have John. We're counting on you, John.
Yes.
My smart brother never defied them. We were raised as the favored brother and the oppressed sister. The only thing that kept this distorted family balanced was my brother's efforts. He was always on my side.
Emily, follow your own dreams. Leave our parents to me.
But then, John, you.
It's okay. I don't mind becoming a doctor that much. You want to be a veterinary nurse, right?
Yes. Being a vet seems too hard.
My kind brother never laughed at my dream, even though I couldn't study as well as him. He was my only refuge and a shield from our parents. I loved him dearly. But that beloved brother died in a car accident the summer of his second year of high school. I couldn't believe it. It was a heart-wrenching farewell. The balance he maintained crumbled, and my parents treated me even more disdainfully.
How unfortunate to have such a useless daughter left in this family.
Why, John, it should have been you instead.
The moment I heard those words, it felt like my life crumbled beneath me. No, it had already been a fragile parent-child relationship built on sand. Even so, I gritted my teeth and got through middle and high school. After graduating high school, I chose to go to a university where I could study veterinary nursing. Of course, my parents, who wanted me to go to medical school, were furious.
You ungrateful brat. Never cross this threshold again.
I was disowned and kicked out of the house. Fortunately, I received a scholarship for my excellent grades, so I didn't have to give up on college. I managed my living expenses with part-time jobs and pursued the path I loved. Busy but fulfilling days. Gradually, a sense of self-affirmation began to grow inside me. My life was surely starting from here. Amidst all this, I met my current husband, Tommy, at a part-time job introduced by my seminar professor. Tommy and I fell in love, dated, and decided to get married. For the first time since being disowned, I decided to contact my parents. I thought I should inform them about my marriage, but it turned out to be a mistake.
Marriage? Your partner is a doctor, right?
No, he's an ordinary company employee, but he's
A company employee? I told you we wouldn't accept anyone other than a doctor. You're truly hopeless, Emily. Don't ever contact us again.
My father cut me off and insulted me. Then my mother, who took the phone next, expressed her disappointment.
You always let us down. How disappointing.
Neither of them would listen to me. Reaching out to them after so long only made me feel more miserable. Because of this, our wedding was a small affair. Actually, Tommy's father, George, is the president of a large corporation, and Tommy works at a subsidiary as the next president. Given their status, they probably wanted a grand wedding with many guests. However, they prioritized my situation. We had a small wedding abroad. Welcomed into a warm family, I cried quietly under my veil. For the first time, I learned that tears could also come from happiness. 2 years into our marriage, we lived a peaceful life. Just as we were considering getting a new home, I became pregnant. When we found out it was a boy during a checkup, the realization hit me, filling me with a different kind of happiness. But at the same time, should I tell my parents about the pregnancy? I had another dilemma concerning my parents.
It would be their only grandchild, after all. But, yeah, value your own feelings, Emily.
My feelings. It might sound strange, but despite everything, I still wanted to cling to my parents. Maybe they would be happy about a grandchild. With that faint hope, I made the call after 2 years. Hello, Mom. It's Emily. I have something to tell you. Their reaction to the pregnancy news was unclear. But as soon as I mentioned it was a boy,
He must be John's reincarnation.
my mother's tone changed, and my father, who took the phone next, sounded cheerful for the first time in ages.
Well done, Emily. A boy. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Why? Even though they were happy, I felt a chill run through me. I had a bad feeling. And then my father's next words shocked me more than ever.
When that child is born, send him here. We'll raise him to be a fine doctor.
What? At first, I couldn't understand what he was saying. But as my parents on the other end of the line went on about reincarnation and an heir, I realized this was not normal. I had always suspected, but now I knew for sure. My parents were crazy. Fear gripped my heart, and I hung up the phone in the middle of the conversation. After that, they called over and over, leaving messages. They even came to our apartment, demanding, "Give us our grandchild," and accusing, "You can't possibly raise him." Tommy and I were at our wits' end and decided to ask his parents for advice. I felt bad worrying them, but this was about their precious grandchild too. After hearing our story, they took it seriously and thought hard about the situation.
Emily is at a crucial time right now. It might be better for her to stay somewhere else.
After discussing it, George suggested that we isolate ourselves at a cottage in Vermont. Tommy arranged to work remotely, and my mother-in-law, Jennifer, would take care of the household chores and help out. I was deeply grateful to my in-laws for making all the preparations. Really, thank you for everything, Jennifer.
Don't worry, Emily. It's not your fault.
Jennifer had been worried about my relationship with my parents since the beginning of my marriage. She was so kind that I thought Tommy must have inherited his kindness from her. In our secluded life, I began thinking about the birth. To avoid my parents finding me, I decided to have a home birth at the cottage. Tommy was surprised but supportive.
I always knew you were strong-willed, Emily, but this is beyond what I expected. I'll help too.
I was a bit embarrassed by his praise. Jennifer also nodded seriously.
All right. I have a friend nearby who's a midwife. I'll ask if she can help.
Thank you so much. The midwife introduced to us was a robust woman named Sarah. She gave us her strong assurance that she would fully support the birth under these circumstances.
I live nearby, so I can come over anytime. You can count on me.
Sarah's confident assurance was a great relief. I can never thank her enough. I was also thrilled when Tommy brought home a dog when we moved to the cottage. He knew I had always wanted a toy poodle, and he seized this opportunity to make my dream come true.
I thought it might be a good distraction. Plus, it could be a playmate for our child in the future.
Thank you. He's so cute. The black toy poodle quickly warmed up to us. I named him Chill, the fairy tale that I read long ago. I loved the magical adventure of searching for happiness, so I named him after a character from that story. It's about a bird that brings happiness. I hoped it would bring happiness to me someday too. At the cottage, I prepared for the birth. To ensure a safe delivery, I maintained a healthy diet and regular exercise. The checkups were smooth, and the baby grew steadily without any major issues. Sarah said the natural environment and stress-free life were beneficial. Plans for hospital coordination in case of an emergency were prepared with Sarah at the center. And then labor began. The pain and suffering were so intense that it felt like I was going to lose consciousness. By dawn, I successfully gave birth to a baby boy. Sarah brought the newborn to my chest and showed me his face. My very cute baby. He's warm and soft.
It went smoothly for the first birth. It was an easy delivery.
Sarah said with a smile. Tommy, who was present, cried his eyes out, and Jennifer, who was waiting, also shed tears and congratulated me. We named the baby, as we had previously decided, Madison. Everyone, thank you so much. No matter how much I expressed my gratitude, it wouldn't be enough. I felt a happiness I had never known before as I looked at newborn Madison sleeping beside me and fell into a deep sleep. But in the middle of the night, still in a light sleep postpartum, I was awakened by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. Tommy and Jennifer, who had been in another room, rushed in with worried expressions.
Emily, your parents found out where we are.
What? How?
I don't know, but they'll be here soon. We need to hide you.
Tommy and Jennifer helped me, still unable to move well, out of the bed. They took me, holding Madison, to the basement connected from the hallway.
This room is soundproof for playing musical instruments. It's dark because there's no bulb right now, but please wait here.
Inside, It was about the size of a bedroom. It seemed hastily prepared. There was simple bedding, a lamp, water, and food. Jennifer, who had gone to check outside, came back.
It's bad. They're almost here.
Sure enough, I could hear the sound of a car stopping outside. My parents had arrived. No, they're going to take my child.
Don't worry. We won't let that happen.
Tommy hugged me tightly and then led me into the basement.
Stay here, okay?
Tommy's face was unusually stern. Frightened by his expression, I let go of his hand, and the door was shut and locked. Why all of a sudden like this? I couldn't believe I had to hide in a basement right after giving birth. I was about to cry, but Madison let out a small cry, and I hurried to soothe him. Yes, I had to be strong for him. I calmed my nerves and focused on comforting Madison. About 3 hours passed. I had just finished nursing Madison when I looked at the unopened door above me. A shadow appeared in the light from the lamp. Who is it? Startled, I turned around. A dark figure slowly approached from behind. It was. Wow, it's Chill. Woof. The toy poodle, Chill, wagged its tail and approached me. I was startled by the sudden appearance of my beloved dog. Where did you come from? It had been quiet here for 3 hours. Where had he suddenly come from? Chill, as if to answer the mystery, pointed his nose to show the way he came. There was a small door hidden in the shadows. I hadn't noticed it in the dim light of the lamp. Apparently, there were 2 entrances to this room. I opened it and found another staircase leading up to the backyard. Carrying Madison in my arms and barefoot, I entered the cottage from outside. Just before entering the living room, I heard the irritating voices of my parents shouting.
Bring out our grandchild. We'll raise him.
That child is John's reincarnation. He was born to be a doctor.
Their stance hadn't changed at all. As I soothed the almost crying Madison, I peeked into the living room. Tommy and Jennifer were standing up to them.
To think you hired a detective to track us down. Have you ever considered Emily's happiness?
Happiness? That girl has no right to happiness after disgracing us. Now hand over our grandchild.
You don't understand anything. He's ours, mine and Emily's. He is not a reincarnation, nor was he born to be a doctor. He was born to be loved by us.
Tommy's voice was firm and resolute. The normally gentle Tommy was looking at my parents with an unusually stern expression. I never knew he had such a strong side.
But he is our grandchild.
And he is our grandchild, too. This is our cottage. Please leave.
Jennifer was also backing us up. She stood tall and firm, just like Tommy. They must have been dealing with this for a while. I swallowed hard. I had to put an end to this. Because I was a mother now. I took a step forward. Leave.
Emily.
Tommy and Jennifer were surprised by my sudden appearance. I felt sorry for disrupting their efforts to protect me. But I had to end this. I had to be the one to cut ties with them. You disowned me. I have already cut ties with you.
We don't need a useless daughter. Just give us our grandchild. We can raise him better.
That's right. Oh, John, you have returned. How lovely.
My cold, arrogant father. My mother, who only saw my brother. I slapped away my mother's outstretched hand and said with a trembling voice, I always wanted your love. I thought you might love me someday, but I glared at them. Having this child made me realize I don't need you anymore. Madison woke up and started crying from my raised voice. I entrusted the crying Madison to Tommy and Jennifer and confronted my parents with anger I had never shown them before. Leave. If you don't, I'll call the police.
The police? How dare you speak to your parents like that?
My father raised his hand. I instinctively closed my eyes, bracing for the impact, but Tommy stepped in front of me and stopped his arm.
No matter who you are, Alex, I can't allow that.
Damn it.
Tommy was a head taller and much broader than my father. The difference in their physiques made my father hesitate. Seizing the moment, I pulled out my phone and displayed the dial screen with 911 showing. I'm serious. Now leave, or I will call the police. I was trembling slightly, but I stood firm so they wouldn't notice. Finally, my parents seemed to be overwhelmed by our resolve. They turned and started to leave the living room. They were shouting something at the entrance, but I couldn't make out the words. The tension drained out of me, and I collapsed on the spot.
Emily, are you okay?
I'm fine. Tommy caught me immediately. Confronting my parents right after giving birth had taken a lot out of me. But for some reason, my heart feels clear and bright. For the first time, I had confronted my parents with my true feelings. A sense of liberation made me smile naturally, and Tommy gently smiled back. Chill also came over and licked my cheek. I'm so glad you came. Thank you, Chill. Chill responded with a bark, whether he understood or not. But it was because of him that I left the basement and faced my parents. The rebellion against my parents that I could never manage before. The one who gave me the courage to do it was this little one, my happy bird. Feeling safe, I fell asleep in Tommy's arms. The next day, Sarah, who had come back to check on us, was furious when I explained what had happened.
Oh my, I can't believe that happened. From now on, I'll stay overnight with you, Emily. If they come back, I'll chase them away.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah was as reliable as ever.
I can't believe they would do that to their own child. Right, Jennifer?
Yes, that's right.
When Sarah called out to Jennifer, she momentarily looked down. Jennifer had been a bit quiet since last night. I felt guilty, thinking she must have been exhausted from dealing with my parents. Tommy, meanwhile, was busy during the day with Madison's birth certificate and preparing our new home. We also decided to apply for restrictions on access to our family register and resident records to keep our new address hidden from my parents. This might take some time, but Tommy was determined to do everything we could. Surrounded by such strong allies, I resolved to become stronger myself. That night of defiance changed me. I would never let anyone take Madison from me. And then, half a month later, the time for another confrontation finally came. While walking in the yard, my parents suddenly appeared from hiding. They tried to forcefully take Madison from my arms.
Give him to us, Emily. We'll raise him.
Stop it. Their arrogant reasoning remained unchanged, saying he would become a doctor and he was the reincarnation of my brother. Tommy and Sarah rushed over immediately.
Don't you dare touch Emily and Madison.
You too. I've already called the police.
At the word police, my parents let go. I spoke to them firmly, not with the anger I used to feel, but calmly and clearly. Stop it. This is kidnapping.
Kidnapping? We're just taking our grandchild.
I'm Madison's mother. If you take him without my permission, it is kidnapping. The tension was palpable. In the past, I would have cowered before my parents. But I was no longer their daughter. I was Madison's mother. For the sake of my new family, I would stand up even to my own parents. I had prepared myself for the day they would inevitably come, and I was no longer afraid. Silence filled the air. Eventually, the police car actually arrived, and my parents fled in a hurry.
You actually called the police?
Ungrateful child.
As they ran away, Jennifer captured the entire scene on camera from a distance. We had planned to gather evidence if they ever showed up again. The video, along with the police witness statements, served as irrefutable evidence, allowing us to smoothly obtain restrictions on access to our family register and resident records. The official at the office even expressed sympathy, saying that must have been tough, implying how awful my parents looked on video. Watching the video, I thought they looked despicable. I wanted to hug my younger self, who had once yearned for their love. A month later, we moved into the new houses Tommy had prepared. It was a large, 2-story house with a garden, including a dog run for chill at my request. A lovely yard also had a swing for Madison to play on in the future. Although our ties to my parents weren't completely severed, we had created a physical distance. They no longer knew where I lived, and I could finally focus on raising Madison in peace. Days passed calmly, though busy with childcare. Jennifer and George would occasionally visit and dote on Madison. Eventually, Madison turned 3 and grew significantly. Now he is a beloved child, living happy days. One day, Tommy showed me an article on the internet.
Hey, Emily, doesn't this look like it's about your parents?
What? The news on his phone was about a local doctor in my hometown who had been embroiled in an SNS scandal. The controversy started when someone called out the doctor on social media for being arrogant and uncaring towards patients during consultations. Normally, such complaints might not make the news, but my parents made things worse by arguing on social media. Their back and forth bickering attracted public attention, turning into a major issue. They responded to negative reviews but ignored positive ones, further damaging their reputation. Their arrogance wasn't directed only at me, but also at their patients. They fueled the fire, leading to a loss of trust. As I read on, I found out that they had closed their practice.
A local private clinic's reputation is everything. They couldn't sustain it.
I have no words. For just a scandal to lead to such a downfall. Perhaps their reputation in the community was never that good, and they didn't have many patients to begin with. That might be why they were so desperate for an heir to revive their practice. My parents, who had been forcing me to become a doctor since I was little. I may never understand what drove them to such behavior, but lately I think it's okay not to try. They wanted to make their children and grandchildren clean up their mess. They really only thought of themselves. Seeing me distressed, Tommy spoke to me with concern.
I'm sorry for bringing this up. Maybe I shouldn't have told you.
No, it's good to know. Thank you. I won't worry about my parents anymore. However, thinking about them did make me worry about the future. I had a feeling they might do something else, So I decided to talk to Tommy about it. And a few months later, my parents indeed showed up at Tommy and George's company. Although they didn't know our new address, they knew where Tommy worked, as I had told them when we got married. It was my mistake for clinging to them back then, but it seemed they had targeted this place. But they didn't get to see me. We had anticipated they might come, and we had made plans. If they showed up, Madison and I would stay out of sight. They would get one chance to explain themselves. Everything would be handled in the CO's office. Here's what happened as I heard later.
What do you want, Alex Mary?
What did you say?
You have cut ties with Emily, so you're nothing to me either.
He had grown stronger because of this incident. With George watching over him, he confronted my parents as the future CO and demanded to know why they had come. As expected, they were asking for money. Their private practice had closed down, and they had no connections to get hired at another hospital. This was likely due to their personalities. They thought they could open a new practice in another town. They came to Tommy and his company to borrow money for the startup costs. The term shameless seemed to fit them perfectly.
$100,000. No, $50,000 will do. We'll pay back the money properly.
That's right. Think of it as a favor. We'll give up on Madison, okay?
Just then, Jennifer entered the CO's office, having been informed of the situation. She spoke firmly.
You too. Enough is enough. We won't lend you a single penny. Have some shame.
Jennifer's fierce rebuke stunned my parents. She then revealed her trump card.
I have many contacts in the medical field. Some hold significant positions.
What?
Jennifer mentioned several names of people she knew as friends. Each one was a well-known figure in the medical community, and my parents' faces quickly turned pale. She had already informed them of my parents' misdeeds and character. They had arranged to exert pressure to prevent any new practice from opening.
Why do you have that power?
If you interfere with my son's family's happiness, we will go to any lengths to stop you.
Tommy described Jennifer as looking almost like a vengeful spirit. Jennifer's glare sent my parents packing. They were immediately added to the company's list of suspicious individuals, ensuring they would never be allowed inside again. Jennifer's connections in the medical community were no bluff. Thanks to her information, my parents still haven't been able to reopen their practice. But why is Jennifer so willing to help us? The reason Jennifer was putting everything on the line to protect us. Tommy explained it to me. Jennifer, like me, had also cut ties with her parents. Her past, filled with hardships, was even more harrowing than mine. Until she met and married George, she had given up on her own happiness. I remembered a conversation from 3 years ago between Sarah and Jennifer.
I can't believe anyone would do that to their own child. Right, Jennifer?
Yes, that's right.
Jennifer's tired expression back then. It was the exhaustion from recalling her own past. Now, Jennifer works as an accountant. With many doctors as clients, she was able to handle situations like this. Sarah, who helped during my delivery, is well known in the midwifery community and also offered her support.
Mom said that helping you feels like she's saving her past self. So thank you from us too.
Jennifer. Protected by so many, Madison and I are here. I decided to thank Jennifer again. Later, Jennifer informed us that my parents had their medical licenses revoked. Their fraudulent activities at their former practice were exposed by a former employee. They were involved in insurance fraud and violations of pharmaceutical laws. The severity of their actions led to not just a suspension, but the cancellation of their medical licenses. They were left with hefty fines and no right to practice medicine. It's a tragic outcome for my parents, but it was inevitable. They were far too selfish, and it no longer concerned me. I closed my phone after reading the news and started preparing a meal for my family. My difficult childhood. As if in response to that, my future was filled with happiness. Perhaps due to my tough past, I find myself moved to tears by the simplest things. Madison often says, "Mom, you're such a crybaby." Now, Madison is already in 6th grade. He's grown up so much. Today is an open class day. I stood at the back of the classroom with Tommy. We listened as everyone read their essays. Next was Madison's turn.
My Family by Madison Smith, Class 6-2. My family is my dad, my mom, and our dog, Chill.
Madison's essay was a mix of innocent honesty and careful politeness, typical of a child. I listened intently to every word. By the end, I couldn't hold back my tears. Once again, Madison would probably call me a crybaby. Tommy put his arm around my shoulders as I wiped my tears. Madison looked back from his seat, smiling as if to say, "I knew it." My happiness was right here. I cherished the happy moments brought by Chill, my little happy bird.